So welcome everybody to the 1 o'clock weekly Zoom meeting. Every week we have like we have a super long list of topics that we want to cover. And every week we have a bunch that seem like more pressing or less pressing. And, we really base it on like, what are our clients asking us? What are we seeing in the market? What are like the things that we really, really, really think people should know before they're tackling buying or selling up here? And so this week, it was an interesting one because it's about how you search for homes, like literally like how you can work with a buyer's agent or technically on your own to search for homes up here, and how the way that we really train the buyers that we work with to search for homes is a little different than when, certainly the way that most people look. Like, when people start searching, you often end up with a lot of homes that are no longer available, or like you find out that they're on like a yucky road, or it's going to go way above your budget. And so we want to like just give you some tips on how to make that process more effective. So without further ado, I am Megan Brenwhite. I'm the head of the Upstate Real Estate team, licensed real estate agent. We are at Keller Williams Realty, Hudson Valley North. So there, got all my legal stuff out of the way. And Jennifer Brown, who many people have as their name today, is up here. She's our chief of staff for the team. Marcy Langworthy is the head of our new app that's coming out. Community manager Angelica Ferguson, who stepped away from the video for like a second, is one of the buyer's agents on our team. And I feel like I explain this every time, but I think otherwise it could not, I want to give context in case people are here for the first time or don't know how we work. So the 2-second version is that we're a team. I think we're about 13 people now. Half of us are full-time admin, and the other half are actually active agents. So that's very different from how most brokerages work. It's different from actually how a lot of teams work. And so the idea is that everybody can focus on a very specific piece of this and that get better and better and better and better and better at it. So for example, the buyer's agents, called as such because they work with buyers, they really only focus on searching, showing sometimes actually, negotiating, and then dealing with any problems. And that's it. So they're like a piece of this puzzle. And so that means that they're getting better and better and better and better and better all the time at searching, negotiating, and dealing with any problems that come up. But we have, full-time transaction coordinators who work from pretty much from the point of the accepted offer through to closing, that help with like, has title been ordered? Has the appraisal been ordered? Has like all these like little bits and pieces that we have no real control over as agents, but are critically important to moving the deal forward. And then the other thing is that after you buy a home with our team, at least, you basically, the goal is to support you forever, like whatever that is. If you need a roofer, if you feel like you need some new friends, you want to like find some cool areas, like, and there's a bunch of ways that we do that. So this is just to say that like each kind of granular part of any transaction, we think a lot about and we talk a lot about. We have a daily huddle every morning where we kind of exchange ideas of like, well, how do you find things? What about this? What about this house? Da, 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 da. So the search process is one of the things that we've been talking a lot about, and that we definitely have found some, not workarounds is not the right word, but some tricks to make it a little bit easier. So actually easier is not even the right word, to make it effective, because basically we're in this like totally extreme seller's market. That's where we are. Like, that's where we live. We can't change that for you. Wish we could if you're a buyer, but we cannot. So given that we're in this extreme seller's market, speed is really important, and writing up a good offer is really important. And then making sure that that offer doesn't get gazumped, is the British term, where someone else comes in and like, beats your offer after it's accepted, and then getting all the way to closing. But what it also means is that these are not the days, especially not now with COVID. These are not the good old days where we could show you, be like, okay, let's come out on a Saturday and we'll find 6 or 7 houses and you'll get to know the areas and we'll just give you a sense of the market. That's not where we're at right now. COVID rates are also, rising everywhere. So the idea is you really are not supposed to go into a home unless it's a home you could put an offer in that day, like that you're ready mentally, financially, everything. So, so we got to do a lot of that talking beforehand, right? Like that makes sense. And the truth is that all this has done is made us, I think, better at really helping buyers hone in on what's really important to them, what are real deal breakers, and then winnowing down the number of houses we're going to look at to the really critical ones, which frankly is what we should always do. Right? Like if there's a house that's sort of like a super long shot, it's generally a long shot for a reason. So one of the things that, one of the first steps is like, so one of the things we tell our buyers is like, please send us any listings that you see. Like if you see if something new comes on the market or you see something that like really speaks to you, let us know right away. And the reason we do that is because we've heard what the buyers want. We've heard what you want. We're doing our best to look at things through your eyes, but we do not have your actual eyes. So there may be something, and we were talking about this morning. One of the most important reasons for you to keep searching also is because we may be rejecting things that you would actually want to see. And that happens not infrequently because as you go on this process and you see like, oh, what prices things are going at, or how do you get a multiple, is this one going to go into a multiple offer situation? What's really available in my budget range? Or maybe you narrow your geographic focus. The criteria changes, and we try to keep on top of that as much as possible and talk about it as explicitly as possible and ask as many questions as possible. But your brain is always going to be ahead of what we know. So you might look at something, you may have said, the one kind of house I never want is a ranch. Never, never, never. Forget it. Hate them. Would rather die than live in them. And then you see a ranch that has like an incredible view and like, I don't know, like it's like mid-century modern and it's totally cool. And so you send it to us, but we probably wouldn't have sent it to you. That said, obviously we like ignore what people say. Not we ignore what people say a lot of the time, but we try and also think like pretty creatively. And if there's like a really, really, really awesome version of the thing you said you would rather die than live in, we might still send it to you and go, hey, I know you said you hate ranches, but what do you think about this? But still, it still helps for you to be looking also 100% all day long. And we've finally cleared out our waiting list for working with buyers. So at one point we had over 300 people waiting to work with our team as buyer's agents. And we've written to everybody, we've contacted everybody, we've got almost everybody started. So now we really have more of a clean slate where we can start working with new people. But for a lot of the people, if they say, we're really waiting to find the perfect house, like that's going to be a hard one. That's going to be hard unless we jump on something that comes up immediately. So all the, working together as a team, I think that's really the way to look at it is the best approach. So I'll backtrack for one more second and talk about what a buyer's agent does, because that also is useful. So there are, in this area that we cover, which is 6+ counties, there are, I think, 5 different multiple listing services, which is a big old pain in the booty. And all of those multiple listing services feed into Zillow and Trulia and Realtor and all the websites. They all have their own quirks. They all have their own ways of telling if something is pending, if it has an accepted offer or not. But we also are dealing with like not one pool of information. But we can show any house. So that's one important thing. So if somebody writes to us and says, I love this house, can I see it tomorrow? We're not going to make you wait through the wait list and everything else. We're going to find somebody to show you the home. Also, that's true for sale by owners. So if you see a for sale by owner and you want buyer representation, you want the negotiation, you want our recommendations for attorneys and inspectors, you want that like help with the transaction, you want that like lifelong support, no matter what, then there are two options with for sale by owners. One is that sometimes the owners will pay the buyer agent fee, which is somewhere between 2 and 3% of the price of the home. Other times, it might be worth it for you to pay that fee yourself so that you can have this representation. And we've absolutely had people do it both ways. So, tip number one is like, don't think if you're working with an agent that you can't also see for sale by owners. It's still possible. Tip number two is like, even though this whole thing is about like how you guys can work with us to find awesome homes, we put a lot of work and mind power into it. We call other agents, we find out what's coming, we scour expireds. Like we really, 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 really put a lot of work and just like mind space into finding homes. So our team can only work with people who work with us exclusively as agents. And what that means is you can't like have a bunch of phone calls and have us do a bunch of searches. And then you say, oh, hey, I just went to an open house last weekend and I'm putting an offer in with that other agent. That is no bueno. So, we want to make it official. We want to know that we're going steady before we like take any next steps, which I think is actually one of the tips of how to search is, that's really how you get your buyer's agent attention. So where do you search? That's the first question I would say. Most people, I think Zillow is probably the best known. Zillow is like one of the least good at showing when something has an accepted offer. It's gotten better. It's gotten better recently. And it's not like for any dastardly reasons, but it's basically because in the different multiple listing services here, each of those multiple listing services here and nationally, there are different ways to indicate if something has an accepted offer, if something's under contract. And one of the biggest ones called One Key, there's no way that any database could read it. They literally have a text field that you have to write something in saying there was an accepted offer on this date. So Zillow literally can't know. It can't. What that means, which sucks, is that from an accepted offer through to contract here in this area, it's usually 3 weeks. From an accepted offer, you have inspections within 10 days. And then the attorneys start to, talk about the contract. So it's 3 weeks. That's a long period where you look at something and Zillow showing it's active and it's not. So realtor.com, which is the one that's like from the realtors, like the National Association of Realtors, basically, that's, the idea at least. That one tends to be better. So I would, if you had to pick a website, I would do Realtor rather than Zillow. So that's tip number 2. When you're putting your budget in, we used to tell people to look a little bit above their budget. Like if their budget was 400, we would say, look up to 450, set the search up to 450, because, you might be able to stretch a little bit if your budget's if you could negotiate it to 415, for example, you might be able to stretch. In this market, we're telling people to set the budget 20% below, like the range, 20% below the price that they want to end at. And that is because there are so many multiple offer situations. And that's really where we're seeing that you have to be willing to go if you find a house that you love and it ends up having multiple offers. Now, you can look at things. You can absolutely look at things that are, higher. But what I will always tell you is if a home has come on the market within a week, and it looks awesome, like you generally cannot expect to offer anything less than above ask right now. That's like table stakes. So if your budget was 400, a new home comes on the market, it looks amazing, it's $399. What we would say is don't forget about that home. Like stuff happens. Like maybe it's actually overpriced. That still happens. But wait a week. Wait for that first weekend to go, and then we can think about seeing it. Because usually when they happen, it's usually in that first weekend. You can do all kinds of things with Zillow too, or Realtor. I mean, I honestly go between all of them. So you can switch it to say like you want to see the most recent ones. And then you're like, you can set up notifications, you can set up save searches so that you get pinged like immediately. And the reason that we don't tend to do this for clients, like a lot of realtors will set up a save search in the multiple listing service, and then houses will just get sent to you automatically. Like if something with those criteria show up. We don't do that because we work across so many multiple listing services. So it like doesn't make any sense. And then you're also getting, you're getting pinged all the time with stuff we wouldn't even recommend necessarily. So tip number 2 about the search criteria. Well, does anybody have any questions about the budget? You can throw it in the chat if you want. Well, let me actually say one more thing for the budget. And I feel like I've talked about this a lot, but the other issue that we're having in this market is that homes are not appraising at the agreed price because the market values have been going up a lot, and because we really have these 2 parallel markets of like New York City buyers and local buyers. So what should trigger that for you? So that would also impact how you would look at impacts how we search for you. So let's say your budget, let's keep with 400. Let's say your budget is 400 and the reason it's 400 is because you don't have a lot of cash. Maybe you have $40,000 to put down plus the closing costs, or maybe even have 80,000, but you don't have a lot more. So if that house is 500 square feet, but happens to be like staring at a waterfall and is like unbelievably stylish, there's a good chance that they'll get over asked for that house and it won't appraise. So we can look at it, and you can start to think about that too. It's basically the appraisals are based on the area, the sold comps within the last 6 months. And it's the area that they look at for appraisals is 5 to 10 miles. So it's pretty tight. Square footage, numbers of bedrooms and bathrooms. That's it. That's all they care about. So like, and the condition of the home. So a new home will get a higher appraisal than an older home, but they don't care about so much style because that's subjective. But buyers really, really, really care about style. Angelica.
They don't care about style, but they will classify like the level of finishings. Like hardwood floors will rank higher than like linoleum tile, for example. So materials can come into play.
And I think the condition of the home actually is really important. So if it's a house that you walk into and you're like, oh, this looks like a good home, that criteria, because they're looking for comps. So if they're looking at excellent versus very good versus fair versus poor or whatever the names are, that will really impact the appraisal. So that is a good one. Okay, moving. No, she's back.
There are also weird things like proximity to places of worship or firehouse or police station. Make your appraisal go up.
So, and this is why the appraisal stuff is, oh my God, someone's delivering. Stewie's going to lose his mind. UPS is bringing huge boxes here. Get ready to not hear me for the next like 10 minutes. Angelica will have to do it. Oh God, he's sleeping. Maybe he won't notice. It's my dog, not my husband, Stewie. So the other thing that is weird and super counterintuitive here, let's say you want a 3-bedroom, right? You want a 3-bedroom. That's your criteria. So you set your criteria at 3+ bedrooms, right? That makes perfect logical sense. But the difference between upstate and New York City is that in New York City, they will count everything as a bedroom and every possible square inch as additional square footage, because that is really where the value is. Upstate, a lot of people don't count any of that stuff. It's not officially on the record because they don't want to pay higher taxes. The square footage and numbers of bedrooms and bathrooms impacts your tax burden also. So the weird thing is that you might end up with, like if you wanted a 3-bedroom, I would actually encourage you to look at 2+ bedrooms and see if there's an office or a huge loft or something that could absolutely be used as a 3rd bedroom. And again, depending on what you want to use it for. If you want to use it for an office, then that's also totally okay. If you want to put a bed in it, I mean, whatever. I'm not going to say you can because I don't know what the like legal things are, but you can see where there are bedrooms. So that's the other weird thing, is that like sometimes you find a lot more in the houses up here that are actually listed. And just so you know, like the reason this is because when we are listing it on the multiple listing service, all of them have the rule that we have to list what the county has on their record. So I can tell you that 50% of the time. It's not like 10% of the time, not 50, maybe like 35% of the time, a significant amount of the time. One of the things that we do is we ask our sellers, can you go to the county and correct this record? And mostly they don't even know that. Like mostly they don't even know that their third bedroom was never counted, or that the like addition that they added was never counted as square footage. So it's a weird thing. So that's like a really important tip. Is like, depending on what you want to use the extra bedrooms for. And here's another reason why somebody might undercount bedrooms up here, is that the rules around your septic system are 100% dependent on how many bedrooms you have. So let's say they added an addition and they have a room that is a lovely room with a beautiful full bathroom with like beautiful bathtub looking out at a forest, but they don't want to deal with getting their whole septic system reclassified. Maybe it's a smaller septic system, or who knows what. They're going to call that room an office. And this is the weird thing about it, is that there doesn't seem to be any rule about it doesn't seem to be much of a rule about what counts as a bedroom. So it's not like in the city, again, it's like if it has a closet, like what it has to have to count as a proper bedroom would be two forms of egress, like so you can get out of there if there's like a fire, and there has to be a certain amount of square footage that's like at a full height ceiling, but there's no hard and fast rule about like, oh, now you did this, it has to count as a bedroom. And we renovated the studio space above our garage in Kingston, and our house was already a 3-bedroom house, which was the maximum our septic system allowed. So the town said, if you want to count this one as a bedroom, so it's a full accessory apartment, then we'll just say that one of your other bedrooms is not a bedroom. That's literally what the town said. So it's like, so what that means is like, when we would go to sell it, which we are now, like it would be a 3-bedroom and not a 4-bedroom, but functionally it's kind of a 4-bedroom. So that's an important thing. What if the home is priced low on purpose to garner multiple offers? How should I approach that if the home is amazing? So this again, I think gets to the budget question. This was a lot of the questions that were sort of people were talking about in Instagram. And let me just say that, first of all, the price doesn't change on the home until it's sold. So from accepted offer to closing is 3 full months. So when you're looking at what's on Zillow and it says pending or under contract, you're looking at the prices 3 months ago. And the way prices are going up here that would not be accurate. Like the last big jump was in the fourth quarter. So one of the things that's kind of annoying and a little bit depressing is that you can't, like, if you're kind of like trying to see, like, is this house priced fairly? Is it priced low? It's actually pretty hard to tell. It's hard to tell because you don't know what the whole market is doing. 1, 2, you don't know what other criteria there are that could lead it to be priced really high or low. So if you see something that looks freakishly low, it may not be to get multiple offers. It may actually be because there's like a quarry right next to it. That's not obvious. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of the tricky thing about this. What you can do is if you're looking in one of these like websites, you can look at the history of the properties. So like as you're looking and you're finding things are pending, just start to look at the history also and look and see, like, this house was launched February 7th. There was an accepted offer February 11th. You can assume in this market, unless some totally freak occurrence had happened, that if something goes off the market that quickly, it was probably wildly above ask offer, or at very least ask, so that's kind of real. We price all of our houses to generate multiple offers because we want there to be at least one good backup offer, because the market's a little shaky and people are like, making decisions really quickly, and they're putting offers on multiple homes in one weekend just to see what they get. So we want there to be one backup offer. Our houses are not priced like low for that though. I mean, they're priced like a smidge low, just to be like, it has to always be a number that the sellers would actually accept, right? So that's our baseline. Like, would you accept this number if no multiple offers happened? The answer has to be yes, otherwise we won't price it at that. I think that's probably true everywhere. Pricing is all over the place right now. Always has been, even more so now. So that's real. So I think that like what you can do, again, if you're working with your agent, you can be like, what do you think is the likelihood that this house will have multiple offers? You know, and then they can call the other agent and be like, yo, what's the activity on this? And if the agent's like, there are 55 showings booked this weekend and it's at the top of your budget, then don't go see it. Just don't go see it. Because it's like going to be depressing. You know, it's just not going to be fun. If there are 55 showings and it's significantly under your budget, then go see it and be the one who beats everybody else. That's it. Gosh, the appraisal thing is a little bit complicated. I feel like we need to do like more, you know, more of a topic on this, but the bank will give you the percentage that you're borrowing of the price that you agreed on or of the appraised value. So if the house is $500,000 and you're borrowing 80%, they'll give you 80% of $500,000. If it appraises at $400,000, they'll give you 80% of $400,000. There are two ways to approach it. You don't have to go straight to cash. One is that you could borrow more money. So you could borrow 90% of 400,000 instead of 80%. And then you'll be paying private mortgage insurance, PMI, but that may be worth it. And the interest rates are still really low. And yes, the other way is to just put more cash down. So the other things that I wanted to, let me see what else I wanted to talk to you guys about. Right. Yes. So you know how I just said that there may be a reason why a house is priced low? There, you know, often is. If it's, you know, sometimes, and we're finding these houses for people, that might be low because there are bad photos or just like being marketed in a weird way. So actually that is a tip. That is a very strong tip right now. If you see bad photos, take a second look. Like literally bad photos should be like an indication to you, like here's an opportunity, potential opportunity. Because if there's bad photos, then you may not be fighting with a million other people, you know, and that's it. So I think that that's one thing that we really do is try and like look through the photos and see like, oh, could there be potential here before we even like go look at a house? The other thing is to always, 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 always look at the address on Google Maps before you decide if you want to see it. Do the satellite view. If you can do the street view, which you cannot do in a lot of places up here because they don't, like too tiny. But if you can do the satellite view, just like zoom right on in, and then you can see if there's some hideous problem. Or it may not even be a hideous problem. Maybe it may be like hideous to you, but not to someone else. So for example, if you see that there's a double yellow line, you can see that before you even switch to the satellite view. That means it's a busy road, right? So if it's a busy road and the house is set like way far back, you may still hear traffic, you may not. If it's a busy road and the house is here, you're gonna have traffic and you're gonna have like light situations, like where you see the cars coming. So that is something that we always do. And that's something where I honestly will push back on with clients because I'll be like, they'll say like, we really wanna see this. And I'll be like, okay, but check it out. Like this is right next to a gas station or something. Usually that's why things are priced lower than you think they should be. When you see something that's very often the case. So just like you look at the house, you see if it's pending. And if you more comfortable using Zillow, Trulia, whatever, and you want to like then just like look it up on Realtor to see if it's pending, you can kind of get that. We usually have to go to the multiple listing service to really check it out. Oh, interesting. Somebody just said that Bing Maps is, I seriously did not even know that still exists, but that Bing Maps actually will sometimes have Street View and Google Maps doesn't. That's great. If you have a lower budget, is it even worth to look right now? It seems competitive. I really think the prices are going to keep going up. So if you have a lower budget, I would absolutely look now. Because there are things that are happening with Airbnb and with work from home that are making that people have way less of an incentive to sell homes than they used to. I do not see the Fed is not going to raise, nobody expects them to raise interest rates maybe ever. So there's every indication that prices will continue to go up. But what you have to do is really, really think about your criteria. And that's like one of the things that we do is like, if you had to, if you had to compromise on the style, on the location, on the condition, on the size, or on the price, like what can you compromise on? If you cannot compromise on price, you have to be willing to compromise on some other things. And I will say that right now, homes that are turnkey ready are getting a way higher premium than usual. So if you can do any work, like even just painting or maybe putting new floors in, painting kitchen cabinets, any work is going to help you get the house. So that's really where there's, I think, still opportunity in this market. And I think that the other stuff that I would say, I'm just looking for the other questions here. I think that, in general, I mean, I feel like I keep saying this, and I really do feel this, that if the market does go up, which I think it will, then what makes sense is to buy a house now. Just any house, and like buy something, get here, enjoy the area. Maybe in a few years or a couple of years, you say, we want a bigger place. We want a place in a different area, whatever. That's cool. You can also keep it as a rental. You can sell it and then move on. If the prices go down, you'll be buying and selling in a lower market. If the prices go up, you don't even have to worry about prices going up because you'll be buying and selling in a higher market. If you wait, then you're here, like and this we're saying for people who we started working with or talked to a year or two ago, or even in the summer, your $350,000 budget buys you less and less and less. And so what that means is you can't expect to get the same home that you looked at a year ago for $350. You have to start to think about other compromises, which I'm just going to say for the record, maybe fine. May end you up with something you like even better. Like maybe it's a new area that's still cheaper. So, we're doing a lot more searching in Greene County, Delaware County, and Sullivan County, because they have had higher overall increases in the median price, but they're still less expensive than, Ulster, Dutchess, Putnam. So that's an interesting thing. And maybe you land there and you're like, I always wanted to stay within 3 hours of the city, and now I'm 3 hours and 15 minutes, and you end up loving the area. Like, it doesn't even mean that you're going to end up with something worse. It just means that you have to have a compromise. Angelica?
Don't leave out my favorite county, Columbia County, which is like seriously 2 hours and 15 minutes from the city on the eastern side. Hudson is there, Chatham is there, Millerton is there, like all these amazing, cute places. And like nobody looks there. But I'm doing deals.
Really not. I think that's so weird because Columbia County, to me, I always think of Columbia as more expensive, but it's not. You're right. It's not. And you're also basically between the Catskills and the Berkshires. So you can even like go to Boston or go to like Tanglewood when all these things open up, or go skiing in both places. Mm-hmm. So I think that is a really good tip also, because, and again, like I feel like our job a lot of times is to like keep helping people refine what they want and being like, okay, you want an old farmhouse with 6 acres for $500,000 and a big barn. Let's look in a different county than Ulster, and that's it. And then we could say like, well, why do you need the big barn? You want to have an artist studio. Okay, an artist studio could be something different. Or maybe we can look at things that are $500,000 that you could build a studio with. That's like where we I think really try and be creative. And that's because we're trying to be as we're trying to be successful for you, so that's that. So I guess what I was wanting to do, and I'm just going to see if anybody's willing to do this. Would anybody like to do a little baby live house search? I have all my windows open. If not, I can do a fake one. But if somebody wants to see me actually searching, I can do it. So I'm going to share my screen. Nobody? Oh, now when I share my screen, I can't see the chat. Is anybody saying yes? No? Okay. I don't think anybody's saying yes. So just know that I can't see what the heck you're doing. So
No takers yet. No takers yet.
Okay,
Oh,
great.
somebody's asking for somebody.
Columbia County.
Columbia County. Work your magic.
Okay, great. Oh, now I can see it. There we go. Okay. Laura, can you tell us, we're going to do the babyest version of a consult here. What is your budget? You can do a fake one if you want. Tell us the budget and the size of the house and anything you like love or don't love. Are FHA loans happening during this market, high demand of contractors? Yes, there are more. I would say there are more loans. All right, lovely. 750, 2 studio. Okay.
Let's call me because I can give you things right now.
I think she's already working with somebody on our team. We'll share. We have a Slack channel called, well, let me show you that. Here we go. I'll show all our secrets. Ooh, I can't move this weird Zoom thing. Okay. So see this here? So this is a Slack channel we have called Houses We Should Sell. And all of us post the houses here that we think look awesome. And this is just like our running thing in our team. So this is actually one of the first places I look. I go here and go like, what looks like interesting here? Right? And one of the things that with Monica, awesome. One of the things that's really cool is that that I should have mentioned is that just like 2 weeks ago, finally, the Columbia Green Multiple Listing Service and Mid-Hudson Listing Service did a data share with the Ulster County Multiple Listing Service. So we could do all the searches here. So I would be like, so let's just go into, I would actually do this on my phone, basically. You saw your fave one. Perfect. So first of all, so I'm going into Zillow. Even though I said I wouldn't, this one's like easier. So see, I do not have checked off accepting backup offers pending and under contract. We go to price. So for 750, I would look at 500 to 800. Actually, they're a little bit more likely to negotiate. We're looking for a studio, possibly it could be a basement. So I'm going to remove the boundary. And if I were doing this on my phone, it's a little easier to draw, but I'm going to draw it here.
Don't cut out Felicia.
No, I'm trying not to. I'm just like doing I can't, with my mouse, I can't do it. It's difficult. So then I do like a pretty broad search here. So again, we could add it or, blah, 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 blah. That's fine. So then I would do 2, 2. And we could even do 1.5 actually, just in case something's, something is there. Now, if I'm sure what Monica already knows is like, oh, Monica, you're here, aren't you? Actually, that's funny. If Monica already knows, like, what are the things you like to do on the weekend? What's important to you? Like, those are the things that we really get into to see really what is possible. But like, we do usually start here. And now I can't I know how to do this on my phone so much more easily than I know how to do it. Does anyone on my team know how to make this show the list?
That's right. Funny. Just scroll down. There's the list.
I know, but it's so tiny.
Yeah, you have to click on them.
Okay. So this one, for example, Laura, like this would be one. So this is tiny, right? But it's super cute. We showed this actually last weekend. So this one, because it's 550, this is one where you would have enough in your budget potentially to build a whole separate studio. So I'm not saying that you would want this, but this is, if somebody gave me this criteria and they said they liked modern homes, I would totally show them this. right? Because I think this is like super cool. And, you know, one of the easiest things to do is actually to build an outbuilding. It's much easier than doing any work in your house. So I got So there's one. These all look pretty yucky. So, okay, so well, remember I said I'm gonna look at bad photos. So let me do that. Okay, so it's like, I'm looking at this, I'm trying to picture, like, could this house be cool? And I'm thinking it could be. Maybe you paint it a different color. It has a nice yard. I like the deck. Looks like a little mountain view situation happening here. So this is where, if you look at bad photos and you look at Too Small, but I love that the office comes with a cat. I know everyone with dog and cat pictures. So the other thing to look at is not stylish furniture, because things that are staged look much better, or even where they just have stylish people living in them. So if there's a house like this, I give it a second glance and I'm like, oh, what would this look like painted white, different fixtures, and maybe like painting this trim or changing the trim to something. So far, I'm seeing something that has a fair amount of potential. But at $749, 3,000 square feet, that's already like kind of at the top of your budget, and this would need a lot of updating, I think. And that is,
Whoa.
yeah, that's an unusual thing. So we'll look at this one in Clavering. So outside, I look at it and I go, this looks like potentially a little McMansion-y. I'll tell you, the McMansion giveaway is always this. These like half circle windows like indicates a 90 home. I can't believe you see that all the time, the indoor jacuzzi. That's so funny. But, you know, like that room is pretty dope. And like if you take out those windows or just put like different windows in, paint it white, you've got a pretty cool house there. The floors look good. Fireplace is nice. Kitchen's nice. I'm not hating this one. Laura, what do you think about this one? You want to live feedback it? It's a humongous deck. Would you consider this one too close to the highway? I haven't even looked at that yet. So usually what I do is I look at it. Okay, cool. I look at it first and be like, is this even a possibility? And then I'll look at the highway thing. So, and I'm going to put the address into Google Maps, 171 Palmer.
So I will also add that being close to the Taconic is totally different than being close to like 87. The Taconic is heavily wooded on both sides for most of it, and it super muffles all the sound. Like I've showed so many houses that I'm like, ooh, is that going to be loud? And you hear nothing. Plus the speed limit's 55 on the Taconic and it's 65 on 87, which means everyone goes 80.
Well, so, and here's the things that I'm looking at, right? Like, so if there was like so that's also super relevant. And if there was like a turn right here, then everybody, like, it would be even slower. You know what I mean? Because they would be like having a turn somewhere.
I mean, there's a turn off right there.
Yeah. So this one could be like, would be a question, you know, and that is a lot of woods. So I would say if you do hear it, it probably would be relatively minor, and it would be so awesome to be able to get on the Taconic that easily that it might be worth it. So, you know, and here I'm gonna look at the road. Oh, it's actually showing us the Taconic for the street view. That's funny. So this would be one. So the next step, if I was concerned about it, is I would ask, you know, or Monica or the agent or whatever would ask the other agent, say, hey, how much street traffic do you hear? And then if they say, you know, you hear a little bit outside, but you don't hear it inside, that could be, you know, that could be awesome. So this one, so then I look over here, because this is 3,700 square feet, like, right, this is huge. 4-bed, 3-bath, built in 2006, 5 acres. I look over here at the price history. So this one was listed in 2017 for $549. They didn't sell it then. Very different market. This one listed for sale for $569, again, December 16th. Now it's saying here listing removed. So that probably means it's gone. So now you guys get to see our next step. After I've already looked at everything, this is the Ulster County Multiple Listing Service. But now again, like you can see Columbia in green here. So all I do is type into here, Palmer. And 171 Palmer is listed as active. So as of right now, for what we know, it is active. So that's great. So now what I usually do is I go back to the Zillow thing or to Realtor, whatever, and I send that as this kind of a link because our MLS, it looks like ridiculous. So I don't generally send people links to that. So the other way to search, like let's say I wanted to search in the MLS just to, which like I basically never do, but let's just say I do. Sometimes there's a reason. If someone has a very small area, then what we can do here is do 500 to 800. Let's do a minimum of 2 acres. I don't know if you have them active. So active, these are all the different statuses. This is why Zillow's confused about it. There's active, back on market, which is another version of active. PCMC, pending continue to show with a major contingency, accepted offer continue to show. Like it's a whole thing. So here in our MLS, you have, there are like ones that are by county. Now this is going to be a little bit harder to search, but this will show us everything in Columbia County. Again, I don't know a lot about Laura's search, but I'm putting 2, 3, and 4, because if I put 2, it doesn't do 2 plus. 1, no, 2, 3, 4, because nobody has 34 bathrooms. That literally cannot be right, that there's only 1. Well, let me see. If it's that one we just saw, then it could be. No. I think this is just an example of why I never use this MLS to search, basically. So we're going to go back to Zillow and just use it to see what, we're just going to go back here and see if there's anything else. So this is Athens, that's across the river. Copake. Cute, 3-bed, 3-bath. I'm going backwards because that thing's in the way. So this one's right on the lake. Oh, there's a garage. So that could potentially be your studio above there if it's not already. I mean, this one's already 700. 2,400 square feet. Just needs some updating. Super cute. Like in the pine floors. I really like everything about this. Don't like that. That could be updated. These probably was updated, but it's like medium cute. Very cute. Extremely cute. Super cute. Loving it except for the vanity. You could paint those if you wanted to, or just put that. This would like not be expensive to put new cabinets in because it's not so big. This is all around so rad that I think it's probably gone also. Laura, you want to tell us what you think about it? While I look and see if it's available. Oh, look at that. Active. See, this says MH. This is Mid-Hudson. Too many stairs. All right, perfect. See, I told you Monica would know that stuff. I'm old. I am lazy, so I, for one, don't like stairs. So you want to be on 1 level, ideally? That one only had 1 set of stairs, right? Am I crazy? It's a lot of stairs. So, and again, like what I skipped here because I got so like excited, 38815 Sky Farm. So my question would be, how come this house hasn't sold? Because it looks super cute. So I would look, so here's the next thing that happens. That's kind of hilarious. So say I put in 38815 Sky Farm Road, and then down here, it just says Sky Farm Road. Sometimes Google can't find all that, or yeah, sometimes Google can't find all the addresses. So you have to like kind of guess where it is, which is not a lot of fun. So this may be accurate, it may not be. So it's pretty close to, honestly, this would be like, I probably would, it looks like it's right off of here. So I would have to even figure out what this one is, I would have to look at the different kind of property boundaries. But I can see like this is going to be, you know, if it's like right here, it might be a little louder. Otherwise, it looks like a very wooded, you know, kind of cute area. The houses aren't very close together. They're all going to be pretty private. So I would be like, that's cool. Except for Laura doesn't want stairs. So that's not cool. So the other thing you can do here is, so this is sometimes, you know, I'll do this like 1 day or even 7 days. And you can see we've got, well, this one is 5 days. It limits it a lot more. And now it's giving me things in like Wyndham and stuff. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why it's doing that. And you can also change the search to, there's one that says there's limits it to price reductions. But the other thing, so if you say too many stairs, then what I would do is type in, you know, ranch, single story, you know, like whatever. There's a bunch of keywords you could type in here. And the other ones that we tend to like are, let's just put in ranch. So now we're limited to ranch homes. So that's like an obvious one, you know, but like you have to think of like every word that somebody might use. This is also where we do things like keywords could be MCM for mid-century modern. So nobody in this area has used that recently, but it could be mid-century because the way that they spell it is different. But see, like that one looks pretty cool. Look at that, 99 Thorn Road, Old Chatham. I mean, it looks very cool. So I can tell from here, at least, it's not like disgusting. I mean, the location, it looks like there would definitely be space for some kind of studio. So I'll look here and go here first. Oh, I put throne. There it is, saying it's still available. Now, it may be that because this data sharing is so new that they may not have all the information about it, to be quite honest. But that house, Laura, what do you think about that house? This one looks good, right? You're thinking about that one. Yay. Well, then I'll tell everybody else on this call that this house looks like caca and I'm removing it from your vision. This house looks like a dumpster fire. Nobody should look at it till Laura gets it. But this is like literally like, this is the like sort of, I'm just going to stop sharing right now because this is like the dance that we do in the background. But again, like the first half of that of searching, trying keywords, expanding your area, contracting your area, limiting it to newer ones, limiting it to price searches, doing the budget, all of that is the stuff that you guys can do all the time, essentially. So I think that, I don't know. I mean, I hope that that's helpful. I think that, you know, what we see is, and I would encourage you, by the way, to do a very broad search, and then you can send us or your agent stuff. And we'll tell you, like, our first thing that we'll do is look at what you've sent and be like, yo, dude, this is like a terrible house. Or like, did you not, like, we heard that there's a nuclear power plant going next door to this. Like, so we'll be the first ones to kind of vet it and then be able to, you know, we sort of like poke holes in things and then decide if it looks good and then poke holes in them again. And we can get a lot of information from the other agents. We can get a lot of information from different people. So I think that that's the, you know, so I would say you could always send us something if it looks even like, if you've done the work and really looked at the pictures, decided that it looks cool for you, and then looked at the street view, seen that there's nothing weird, then I think sending it to the agent and being like, what do you think of this is great. Like, even if you're borderline, or if you're like, what do you think this one would look like with different flooring? Or like, do you think you could remove this wall between, like, how hard would it be to expand this kitchen? Those are the things that we're really good at. So that's where we, I think, have some real like creativity. I put an offer on a house. I'm putting an offer on a house today that was too small and didn't have a bedroom, a second bathroom. And so I called a contractor. We had the plans from the other agent. And I was like, how much would it cost to put another bathroom here? And we got the quote and we were able to think about that in terms of the offer. Like there's a lot of stuff we can do so that it's like, not just like what you see is what you get. Does anyone have any like last questions, or anyone from our team have any like last like tidbits, things that I forgot to share, or is like your own secret? I think a lot of our secret, you know, for some of us, like I've done a lot of renovations. Angelica, I know, has done a lot of renovations. So that secret is looking at the fixer uppers. And no, so I would say there are no big no's. Everything just has a price.
Yeah.
That's it. Right? I mean, that's like, so it's like, no, you can, and that's a more complicated discussion because it's like, what will the seller be willing to pay for? Is it being sold as is? Do you have enough in your budget? Do you have the kind of financing to deal with it? But there's nothing wrong. You know, it only is like, this costs this much to fix. Do you have that money? And do you want to spend that money? That's it. The other thing our team is like super good at, I think, is we are driving around all the freaking time, all over the area. And so we're constantly like finding new little cute towns and, you know, knowing which restaurants are opening up and where things are coming. And so what I can like pretty much say is that there are not many crappy areas up here. You can kind of just like, even if it's a town you've never heard of, it's probably pretty, it's probably close enough to something awesome. So that I would say is like, it's not like I'm driving and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, this is like an industrial wasteland in the middle of the beautiful countryside. No, I may be like, this is like a little bit far from a grocery store. Like that's about as bad as it gets. And usually the really rural areas are like spectacularly beautiful. So it's like it's not even a problem. So that's one thing I would definitely say is that, because also you're going to have less competition in the areas that nobody's heard of. So like if you've heard of, I don't know, Rhinebeck, then do like a big old circle around Rhinebeck, you know, if that's something that you like, because there are going to be places that are near there that other people aren't putting into their search engine that have like really a lot of the same vibe and where you could go to Rhinebeck to hang out when you wanted to. So, all right. So I guess it's good. Laura, I'm glad you found the search fun. Thanks for being the online victim here. And the real search is going to be even more fun. Although now I'm kind of obsessed with that dumpster fire of a house that none of you should remember the address for. So. All right, everyone. Thanks for go Monica and Laura. Go Monica and Laura. All right, everyone. If you haven't, we have a questionnaire in my profile to be on our waiting list, which is not really a waiting list anymore. We're kind of just hopefully able to pair you with a buyer's agent to do consults who does all of this stuff all the time. And yeah, thanks for coming. And thanks for everybody from my team for joining too. Yay. Bye.